Welcome to solverfy.
Hi there. Let's talk a little bit about circulatory systems. Circulatory systems can be defined either as being open or closed circulatory systems. An open circulatory system does not have tubes to carry the blood. The blood is just circulated from the heart and it is just pumped through the cavities mixing with the other fluids of the body. It typically collects in the cavities and returns to the heart. So the heart is really, in an open circulatory system, the heart is really just a pump that is causing fluids to circulate within the body of the organism. But all those fluids are mixed together. Whereas in a closed circulatory system, there are separate tubes. Of course, we call those veins and arteries. And the blood is always contained in those. And of course, the blood is then cycled through the body. Goes from the heart and it cycles through the body and then comes back to the heart. All right, so that's the difference between open and closed. When we talk about closed, open, we're typically going to find that in lower organisms, insects, things like that. Closed circulatory systems we tend to see in vertebrates, for example. But within the vertebrates, there is another hierarchy that goes from a little bit less developed to a little bit more developed, or we can think about it in terms of evolution. Things like fish have a closed circulatory system, but they only have a two-chambered heart. For organisms that developed lungs and started incorporating air from the land, breathing air, things like amphibians and reptiles, they have a little bit more advanced system that allows them to pump blood through the lungs. So they're going to have a three-chambered heart. Remember, fish only have gills. Fish don't have lungs. And organisms such as humans and birds and other mammals they're going to have the four-chambered heart. All right, so let's look at this question and see which answer is going to sum these things up for us. The whole idea about the difference between open and closed, and then the organisms and their different chambered hearts. All right, so let's see here. Looking through the answers, it looks like letter A has a problem because it says a closed circulatory system is a system where the blood mixes with the interstitial fluid. That is not true. That only happens in open circulatory systems. So that means we can eliminate both A and D because A and D are giving the definitions of an open circulatory system and calling that the closed. So we know that A and D are both incorrect. All right, let's look at B and C. B says a closed circulatory system has the blood separated. Yeah, that's true. And C says the same thing. So those are both correct with their definition of closed circulatory system. But then let's look at the second part in terms of the chambers of the heart. Letter B has what we have here. Fish with 2, amphibians and reptiles with 3, and mammals and birds with 4. C looks like it is incorrect because it has fish. It has fish and amphibians flipped. And that would be wrong. So C is incorrect as well. So the correct answer here is going to be letter B. Letter B correctly summarizes the information that we talked about before we specifically looked at the question. So letter B is your correct answer here. Thank you so much for watching.